This is PNC Roundtable.
Hello, this is Ric DeVore, Regional President for PNC Bank, and thank you for listening to PNC Roundtable. It's on this show that we tackle some of the region's tough issues with people who make a difference.
Now here's the PNC Roundtable.
Welcome into our PNC Roundtable. I'm Paul W. Smith with co-host, Regional President of PNC Bank, Ric DeVore. Ric, always a pleasure.
Good to see you, sir.
You've brought some very nice people with you today, and we're going to talk a little bit about these communities. In fact, it's kind of an update on the Downriver communities of Taylor and Trenton, important communities for PNC Bank.
Very important. We have a number of branches downriver. Downriver is a very important market to us, and so we just thought it would make some sense if we can't maybe showcase a couple of communities downriver today in our show.
And you do so many great things. We appreciate your sponsorship in the Paul W. Smith Golf Classic to benefit Think Detroit PAL. There's, of course, the big Roar on the River, the big PNC Roar on the River at the end of July. Some great things always going on with that and your sponsorship. That thing's been going on for 60 years, and just one of the many ways you're involved in the various communities in a very big way.
No, it is, and this is our fifth year of being the presenting sponsor of Roar on the River. It's a great event, brings a lot of the community together downriver, and we're really happy about that. In addition, this year we started up the Taylor Reading Corps. As you know, literacy is a big issue with us in the city of Taylor, where we're raising funds to teach people how to teach children pre-K through third grade how to read. So we're excited about that as well.
You've done so many things, and I remember with our meetings in the past and our guests from whether it's Tony Michaels, the Parade Foundation and all of that, so many great things with schools, Ric. I salute you for that. So many things in education and early education.
Well, early education is the cornerstone of our philanthropy, and we have found that literacy issue is also tied to financial literacy. I mean, a lot of us wonder why somebody would sign a form that was one tick below usury at a payday lender. Well, many times that person is really embarrassed because he or she cannot read. And so financial literacy goes along with literacy, and it's very important to PNC Bank.
Well, good for you for all the good things that you do day in and day out, Ric DeVore and PNC Bank. Now, on our downriver communities of Taylor and Trenton, we have the mayors with us on the program today, and what a pleasure it is to welcome Mayor Kyle Stack, elected mayor of Trenton in November of 2011, served as a City of Trenton city clerk for the past 26 years before that, served for 8 years in the Parks and Recreation Department, Henry Ford Community College graduate, member of the Trenton Rotary Club. She was the first female president. She's lived in Trenton for most of her lifetime, has a whole list of achievements, and it's nice to have Mayor Kyle Stack with us.
Thank you for having us.
It is our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
We also have a gentleman who is educated through Eastern Michigan University with his Bachelor of Science of Education, Master of Arts, Educational Administration at CMU, Central Michigan University. He's been a teacher in the Crestwood School District, Dearborn Heights, elected to Taylor City Council 2005, elected mayor of the city of Taylor in 2009, the mayor, Jeffrey Lamarand. And nice to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for having me.
And you heard Ric say that you're very important to PNC Bank. I suspect PNC Bank's very important to your communities as an employer.
Absolutely.
And involved in the community in the various ways, as we heard, Mr. Mayor, is the Taylor Reading Corps.
Yeah, the Taylor Reading Corps is just another step where PNC is partnered with the Taylor community. I mean, they've held the city accounts, I know, since pretty much the existence of the organization. So this is obviously it's a step that's second to none for their partnership with this group. As an educator, it's so important, and this organization that's been put together to start to try to chip away at some of the issues that fall some of our students within the Taylor district is a phenomenal opportunity for not only them to be involved, but for our families and members of our school community as well as the community as a whole.
I want to ask both of you, and I'm going to go with Mayor Stack of Trenton first because she's the newbie on the list of mayors. But I'm getting to you, too, to ask you, Mayor Lamarand, about, you've been there since 2009, so you're an old hand at this, but I got to ask these days, and this goes back 3, 4, 5, maybe more years, What made you want to be a mayor in what appears to be a time that it is at best a thankless job? It's some might say impossible job. What drove you to want to do that?
Number one, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I had been with the city for so long that I actually was the clerk for 26 years, and it was just an opportunity for me to stay with the city. I wanted to make sure that our residents were, getting the service they need and that they should have, and I thought this was the best way to move forward with trying to move the city forward too.
Staying in touch with your city of Trenton. And Mayor Lamarand, City of Taylor, again, you could have done a lot of different things for jobs. I know your brother's a master electrician, Dave. He's done some work in my house, in fact, a second career after leaving GM after all those years. What made you decide to be a mayor? And you had to know going in, it's a very, very tough and sometimes or oftentimes thankless job.
Yeah, well, it might have a slightly different tack towards the approach, but as a teacher, high school teacher for 10 years, I think it was kind of putting your money where your mouth was. You kind of go through, and a lot of it was an approach that, for me, I just think, government needs to change. It needs to be a different approach towards how we provide service and the interaction and what our role in amongst our community is. And I think it's kind of gotten, skewed a little bit over the years and became too much about how do we take care of ourselves versus, what do we do for our residents and what's the, cost-benefit factors as we apply those.
Now, we've all watched what's been going on in Detroit. None of us would want to change positions with Mayor Bing and everything that he is going through. And I'm just wondering how Taylor and Trenton are dealing with these various financial challenges that every community is facing right now.
I think basically is working with our employees, making sure that we just went through all of our contract talks. We're one contract short of being approved, but we actually are. Everybody's working together, and that's what it's going to take. Is all of us working as a team.
So there is good collaboration.
It's a struggle, collaboration, but yes, there certainly is. It's not easy for anybody in this time, and we can see the headlines across the larger communities. It's hard to, I think, for either Mayor Stack or myself to fully think through. And I know we've got an intern watching too that's from Chicago, and we just drove through. My wife and I were on a trip and just drove through Chicago, thinking, much like Detroit, how do you manage something that size with the mayors that would have to deal with those communities?
In Chicago, as we know, it's corruption and other ways. But it works. I remember getting into an argument with somebody in Chicago talking about the corruption, and he said, well, you have a corrupt government in Detroit back in the Kwame Kilpatrick days. And I would say, wait a minute, a guy from Chicago is telling me I live in a city with a corrupt mayor? Are you kidding me? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, but our corruption works. And at the time, they were doing okay.
Yeah. Well, and Taylor's a top 20 city, as far as size and population in the state. So we're not too far off that with 24 square miles to deal with. So it is a challenge with the level of employees, and when you have to reduce spending and you're dealing with deficit process, things have to change, and we've tried to apply some of the principles of business to the extent that you can within a government structure. We're not going anywhere. We're not gonna go under as a business, and we can't just close our books and go on about another process. We've got to stay afloat, and we got to continue to do certain things, and we have to do them within a much smaller parameter than we the city or anybody else would have in years past.
I think a lot of people don't realize how big of a city, square mileage, Taylor really is. It is a big city.
That's a big 24 square miles. That's a big city.
It really is.
And we have the mayor of Taylor, Jeffrey Lamarand, with us, and the mayor of Trenton, City of Trenton, Kyle F. Stack, with us as well. And Ric DeVore, you've talked a little bit about your involvement in the city, some of the great things PNC Bank has done, 5th consecutive year title sponsor for the PNC Roar on the River, one of the largest events in the Downriver community. It's important to you and it's important for PNC to be involved in supporting these communities. What are some of the other ways that you work together? We already heard that you, from a banking standpoint, certainly are working with these cities, and the city's working with you. What are some of the other ways that you collaborate, interact, and work with the city of Taylor and the city of Trenton?
Well, there's obviously, there's a lot of municipal funds that, we help with, and a lot of that business has to go for competitive bid, obviously, the RFP process and so forth. But we really feel like we're an advisor and a partner, if you will. As mayor of, as Jeff indicated, our relationship with Taylor goes back years. And I know it's hard to keep track of banking mergers, right? But it goes all the way back, pre-National City, pre-First of America, all the way back to Security Bank and Trust. And I think that's similar down in Trenton as well. So there's a long legacy of banks that we've acquired that have been extremely important downriver. And that bank, years ago, and I know you grew up in Monroe, but that would have been Security Bank and Trust. In addition, though, and you've heard me say this many times, but our employees volunteer. It's great to write checks, but our regional manager, Ronnie, in that region has 50 employees volunteering in the Taylor Reading Corps.
Boy, that makes a difference.
And we also have donated furniture to the effort. We have a lot of excess furniture in our furniture graveyard, if you will. And so, a lot of our support isn't just financial, but also is in volunteerism. And if you go around Taylor, Heritage Park, etc., a lot of the things that have been beautified there and so forth has been really the work of volunteers. It's not the city writing a check; it's the city helping organize these events and get some things done.
What do you see as your involvement for your city's role in business development and retention, in interaction with people like PNC Bank and Ric DeVore and others? I'll start with the mayor of the city of Trenton, Mayor Stack.
Basically, one of the things that I would like to see, matter of fact, I have a card from one of the gentlemen. I'm going to be contacting them. We were very lucky. Our city planner decided to give us an opportunity to have a contract with him for $1 to do some economic development. And I was going to contact, they gave me a gentleman's name to contact through PNC, that maybe we can find, some financial support when it comes down to, loan that they could start a new business with, this kind of thing. So we're going to be working. It's just brand new because we just got him on board about 2 weeks ago, and so we'll be doing some work with trying to see what kind of things we can do to financially put some more businesses in the storefronts. We've got quite a few storefronts empty at this point.
Yeah, so many communities do. And let's check in with you, Mayor of the City of Taylor, Mayor Jeffrey Lamarand. What do you say?
We really jumped out at this when I took office in 2009. It was one of the primary focuses for us early on was trying to create a marketing, a community-based marketing plan for business orientation and how we attract people or inform people about it and about Taylor and what it has to offer without sitting back and waiting for people to come to us. And as we went through the early phases of that development process, I think with any marketing plan, the key focus there was retention. It's making sure that we aren't losing businesses as they're going along. So as we started to reach out, one of the things that we really tried to focus on doing, we had to do business different as a city. So we had to go to businesses and try to ask them to help sponsor and help do different things. And that allows us to interact with the business, allows us to get their name out there. We approached in the last 2 years, our community report, we used to do the Taylor Info in the city, and it was all done by us. It was all tax dollars that were going to the process. And we wanted to make it something that was really an informational piece, but it was done by Taylor businesses. It was supporting business and it was supporting the community all in one package. All of this now is being done we did it the first time through the mayor's office by reaching out to businesses, taking their advertising dollars, putting it into the community report and mailing it out to 20,000 homes. We had people coming back to us saying, wow, we didn't even know that business was there. And that was kind of the key factor. Yes, and go visit them because they're supportive of the community, and that's the first phase. So we really try to interact. We try to communicate and how can we help them and be a part of and stay within the community.
How other with that thought in mind, let's continue with that. You have your report that you give 20,000 sent out to the people, but how other ways? What are some of the other ways? How do you communicate with your residents on a? I assume you try to on a regular basis.
That's a great segue. Thanks. One of the other parts of that was we started after in 2010. We were took office in November of 2009. We started creating coffee with the mayors, and we would go and we set up a rotating cycle through our local, mainly all local restaurants, and just said, hey, we want to come there. We want to sit, let people sit down. If you'll provide the coffee, we'll provide them the opportunity to come into your business and learn about you. Maybe they haven't been there before. And what we really tried to do when you're covering 24 square miles is rotate around, the different sections of the city. So it wasn't, here, I'm going to sit here and you come find me as a mayor. It was, I'm going to come to you and, we'll be in this area of town, and we publicized it. We went through and we did 6 to 8 months of that, where we rotated around between our council meetings. We rotated around and did one a month. We did it again last year. We're about to start up creating this year's cycle of that, as you kind of get through the months where you get past all your holidays and everything else, and get right back out to it, so that it brings us into the business, and it brings people into the business, and just tries to introduce them, and then we sit down and basically answer the questions that people want to hear about. So.
But agents of change, as you have been in your community, are not always greeted with open arms. In fact, a lot of times they're the opposite of that.
Yeah, we struggle through both, but there's not a question that we've shied away from or a process we've shied away from. That's what we're here for. That's what we knew that challenge. I knew that when I took the office, and that was the focus we had to do, which was change things. So with the support has been overwhelming through not only an election, but we had to face down our own recall. And I heard you earlier talking about another community, but it's part of the process, and that's what we're here to do.
And for you, Mayor Stack, in the city of Trenton, what are your residents saying? How are they responding? We know the economy's impacting them. It's impacting everybody within the sound of our voice here. How do you communicate with them?
We try to communicate through them. We have a yearly calendar that we put out with information of all of our recreation programs, what happens at DPW, how to get your trash picked up, this, that, it's a whole realm of the events that we have going on. I do have something similar to what Mayor Lamarand has. It's called Mingle with the Mayor. I do go to businesses, and they host a little something there, and then they bring in their customers and things like that, so that we can sit and chat with them. I like roundtables, so I we have a huge table in our one room, and I've asked like Southwick Square is one of my communities that are in it's a apartment complex, and I had them come in and we sat down, and they wanted to know how they could add to the community. It's being transparent. We need to make sure that people are seeing what's going on in the community. So I use cable access, I use the website, and we also use our our calendar to get to the people. So.
And Ric DeVore, by offering them this opportunity and this time, it's obvious that this is one of the ways PNC Bank helps them communicate, and how you communicate with them. Oh,
absolutely. And my intent here was to get a little bit of publicity, if you will, for Downriver. I think often people forget, and it's a huge area. I'd like to get back to what Mayor Stack was saying, is where we also can be of help, especially in the small business arena, is having seminars, and also we would consider grants to areas where they help people even write a business plan. Understand some of the government programs, understand some of the bank programs, and we've done that before. In fact, we've even done such things as help people with starting child care providers, because a lot of the people that are starting to think about a business, not only do they not have access to maybe business planning skills, but also what about child care? And so, really it's kind of the intersection of all these things, and that's what Mayor Stack was referring to, and that's on us. We have some people that are going to be, getting involved with that. And so, really a lot of people have some good ideas, but it's that ability to put them on paper and to articulate their business plan when they go in and ask for funds, whether it's from the government or from a bank. And so that's another part of financial literacy.
Yeah, and with that financial literacy, some of the programs can be used by the city of Taylor, the city of Trenton, and other
Sure.
Downriver communities. Others are going to be customized to those communities. And I suspect that that's how you work toward that, by having conversations like this with the mayors.
Right, that's correct.
And that's the collaboration then between the communities and the business community, if you will, and then the collaboration between your cities, for example. Tell me how that is working and how you have continued to do that, or hopefully that you do that.
Well, I think both of us we both walked into a very fortunate situation in Downriver. The Downriver Community Conference has been a major collaboration effort among all the communities, and between both police and fire and our mutual aid agreements around the communities, and the DCC itself is another organization that really steps out and tries to bring different opportunities in. And I think we do a lot of stuff with Western Wayne as well. And
because
those are,
we don't really connect borders when it comes down to our cities. So, because there's different things he probably does with his connecting communities. When it comes down to sharing services, like say for instance, we have a agreement with Riverview for dispatch. We're going to be we're working on that right now to have a combined dispatch for our police department. And I'm sure that Jeff's got other things that he does with other communities, and
and both groups are supportive. I know we just redid our rubbish and recycling program and changed to a single stream. I know Trenton, we really evaluated, and our director at the time had communicated with their director because they do their own pickup, and it was an evaluation process as to, do we want to venture on that, or how are you getting it done, and so those are tools and mechanisms that all communities I think utilize, and we piggyback off each other, and it's no different than we did it in the classroom. There's nobody's recreating the wheel. You take good principles and you try to piggyback off those and apply them as best you can in your own environment.
I guess in a sense of the recreation of the wheel would be making that wheel smaller and consolidating. And when you consolidate, though everybody on paper can see how it makes sense, when you start to do it in reality, it starts stepping on some toes and fiefdoms, and people are sensing that, wait a minute, I used to have that bailiwick all to myself, or that was my thing, and that's my power base, and that's whatever. And that makes those kinds of changes more difficult.
Yes, there's
I can see in the look on your face that you might be aware of what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, and I don't know. I can't speak for Mayor Stack, and I don't know how much she's gotten since she's come in, but there's obviously been a lot of discussion, and I go back to the DCC and keep giving them plugs. I mean, they've been at the head of efforts. They've had Plant Moran has done studies dating back to 1996 about consolidation of efforts, and it's been a hot topic for us with fire, with our talking about regional fire versus autonomy, and I think unfortunately that's been the struggle that I think communities have always faced. It's not wanting to relinquish autonomy and your control over your own environment, and the procedures, but it's becoming a necessity to try to figure out how to do different things. We try to pursue it just recently, just talking about the concepts of the possibility of a regional water authority with some of our neighboring communities and how that might work. And it was we got a little bit of the cold shoulder because those are separate funds outside of your normal general fund, and a lot of people kind of use those as backup. It's it's a reserve account, or it's that kind of an equity line that they might have through banking or anything else. And if you relinquish that into a regional water authority, you would relinquish that autonomy over having those funds. And yeah, it's the struggle, because it's not necessarily it's a business approach. It's my little pocket of society approach, and
we're noticing that things are never going to be the same. You looked 20 years ago, you look 40 years ago, a lot of things have changed, and so what's happening is that we're having to look in other directions as to how we can manage with the funds we have. And like you said, a lot of them don't want to give up their right to be in charge of their own fire department, police department, whatever it may be. But the wave of the future might be where we're added for, because if you have a little bit of vision, that's that's what's going to have to happen. I mean, we're not all going to be able to afford all those things.
And that's, Paul, that's an issue that's not just resident here in Southeast Michigan. At the Mackinac Policy Conference, we compared and contrasted Pittsburgh and Detroit, Roger Penske and Joe Giel from PNC Bank. And I can tell you, they've done a lot of great things in Pittsburgh, but they don't have this correct. When I would go to work in a 1 mile stretch, I went by 3 separate fire stations in 3 different boroughs. They call them boroughs, not suburbs. And heaven forbid if they... they don't even buy salt together in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And so
we do that.
And
we
so
do that.
all the good. So I just want to point out that this is an issue that's, I think, throughout the United States.
Oh, it's everywhere.
It's clearly not just
It's
here.
everywhere, and there are changes coming, whether we like it or not. Mm-hmm. And certainly, we've all seen change that wasn't so good. But we've also seen change that we might have resisted. Then when it happens, you say, "Well, I guess that wasn't so bad after all." It's painful.
It is, and the other thing I think we haven't talked about, but is a real burden for the mayors, both these mayors and all the mayors in this region, is the fact that they're limited on the revenue side with property taxes. Because in the state of Michigan, the way that the law is, you kind of get it going down, but when the values go up, there's still a cap on that. So if you think of it as a business, really they're constrained on the revenue side, yet sometimes there's a lot of inflation on the expense side. Providing these services, so it's a double issue for me.
And it's certainly a large, that's that big 2020 hindsight that goes on. And if you go back to '94 when that was all put in place,
right?
Those are things that would have been missed because nobody would have ever anticipated. But it was things that I talked
always
about.
Go up, Mayor.
Right. That was what I talked. I mean, you're always going to put yourself in a position because if you're cycling your next budget off the concept that you got 3 to 5% increase in home values. To what? When is that home going to value and top out for what we have? And we could see it in the homes that you grew up in our in our neck of the woods to where they started to go in value and say how in the I know my dad paid less than $30,000 for a home way back then, and and it tripled in value. The size didn't triple; it didn't go anywhere. The neighborhood didn't really change.
And that was supposed to happen for all of us. Damn it!
Yeah.
But the other things, just to piggyback off that, it's not even necessarily consolidation amongst other communities. I mean, we are struggling right now with the acceptance of consolidation within our own community, within our own procedures, and that's how we've really tried to tackle some of the changes that were necessary within Taylor. We centralized our purchasing program, and we were handling our purchasing guidelines by 12 different department functions. Someone would send out the RFPs and the bids, and they would interpret the guidelines and interpret how that had to be done different ways. So we've piggybacked off the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network, which is called Mitten. We send all our bids out through Mitten, and it allows us access to statewide, resources. So, again, and we had some concerns at a council meeting the other night. We had one bid come back, and we can't control that. It went to 487 vendors,
and one bid
and
came
one
back?
and one bid come back on that. But I think that's still breaking down the historical mentality of who's going to get the work in a city like Taylor. And people have to recognize that it's an open bid process, and we're open and for business to do it with whoever comes in and wants to provide it. We've been working, our finance people have been working with PNC, and we finally got the process of getting P cards, which helps us. We consolidated our bill payments through utility, which took way too long for that process. And we've got so many, I think 47 different buildings, that are on the utility bills for Taylor, and it took us, a few months to get everything consolidated so we could just make a utility payment, not make 47 of them. And we were literally making 47 of them processed through 4 or 5 different departments. And that's just that redundancy, and is just waste of time, wasted effort, and so we've really started to streamline that. We're getting close to really operating and getting the payment, getting the payment card out there so that it's another quick thing. So it's not about processing a check in order to get payment, because I don't know who does that. I mean, our new finance director says I haven't written a check in 10 years. I mean, it's be able to kind of just do electronic payments and make everything smooth, and those are the certain consolidations that we need to do internally and make that process streamlined and that helps us operate more efficiently.
Sure. As we wrap up our PNC Roundtable with an update on the Downriver communities of Taylor and Trenton, just a quick, if you can, in just a few words, give us your long-term vision for your community, your long-term vision for the city of Trenton, Mayor Stack.
I'd like to see more businesses in the community to help with our revenue base. I'd like to, and that's what we're working on right now. We have 400 acres of property that are sitting, still, that need to be worked on to be vibrant, taxpayers, and we're going to be working on that. Basically, my vision is to keep, offering the citizens the services that they've been used to, keeping our people on board. Hopefully, we'll be able to keep our employees employed. We have been able to do that. We haven't had to lay off anybody. We're one of the few. But I think that, with the help of I've asked for the citizens to help me with coming into the city of into my office and stopping in, give me ideas. We'll put it in an idea folder so that I can keep, going back through it. And maybe something will click, just to conserve. I mean, we all are pinching pennies. And the other thing is one of the things, I think that people think that we have a ceiling tile and all the money's going to drop out of it. It's just not going to happen, So we're being optimistic that things are going to change around here for the state of Michigan, and that's where we're at.
Good for you and for your city of Taylor, Mayor Lamarand.
Well, I definitely want to say thanks for having me on, Paul W and Ric, and appreciate the opportunities for coming out to speak. And I was laughing when you kind of said that because we're mayors. We don't talk about anything quickly. So, I will never be the first person to discount the idea that I probably come across as a negative Nelly all too often. But, we're excited, and it, may not really seem that way when we come through, but we're getting past the challenges of the financial struggles, and we are now laying groundwork which enables us as a city to be attractive to businesses because we don't have to put the focus. I mean, we'll struggle with our tax rates for a long time, and as a city in ours, and we're the sixth highest taxed community in Wayne County, 6th or 7th. So that in itself is a struggle, but we're working through that, and businesses aren't really looking for and are too concerned about that. It's what we have to offer, and Ric and I were talking just a little bit about it, and that ours is things like the Taylor Reading Corps, which will promote a higher quality student coming out of our districts, and it'll promote the opportunity for us to be attractive to business because we have a more attractive workforce as the time goes on. And those are the things that we want. I spent 2.5 hours with our new superintendent at the Taylor schools the other day, just sitting down, getting to know each other, talking about ideas, talking about the future. We're both very excited about what we can do as it comes up, and those are the relationships, because we need to build community in Taylor. We need to build that community feeling. We need to try to break down historical barriers and mindsets, and those are the things that will really start to catapult us into the future. Whether it's housing developments, for us it's housing developments. We got 1,000 houses that were on the books to be built when the bubble hit, and can we get those going back up? Can we start to attract families? Which again, rooftops attract businesses, and that's a simple marketing tool. There's all of the marketing analysis for anybody out there is looking for the amount of liquid asset or liquid capital people have to kind of put in and go to their store and spend. So that's part of the process, and each one of those phases have to piggyback off each other, and we work through those. And we came in, I think, as you said earlier, at the bad time, but we certainly stand to be here and lead the way and lead the charge into what could be a much better time, and that's the challenges, and I think that's why we stood up to take them.
Yep, and here's hoping on all of that. And the final word, Ric.
Well, I think, on the heels of that, we just got a good report. Best new construction in 4 years just came out recently. So I'm hoping that Michigan, and I think the word on the street is that Michigan's probably going to enjoy the same lift, if you will, and that would be, City of Taylor and Trenton are not just dependent on new construction, but that certainly is going to help, and I think also kind of boost consumer confidence, get people off the sidelines, start spending some money in the businesses in these communities.
All very good, and great update on the Downriver communities of Taylor and Trenton. We thank Mayor of the City of Trenton, Mayor Kyle F. Stack, and the Mayor of the City of Taylor, Mayor Jeffrey Lamarand, for joining us. We do appreciate you being here. We'll want updates along the way in one of our next PNC Roundtables. For Regional President of PNC Bank, our co-host Ric DeVore, regards, Paul W. Smith.